probably wondering, Rob, why are we staring at an apartment complex? No, we're not staring at just any apartment complex, guys. This was the heart of Wyoming. This was Studio 28. First, before we get this video started, I want to give a huge shout out to the Wyoming, Michigan History Room right here in Wyoming, Michigan, guys. They also have a Facebook group page. I'll put their link below.
December 25th, 1965, Studio 28, named to showcase its address at 1350 28th Street Southwest, opens Theater 1 with seatings for 1,000 moviegoers. It is built by Jack Lokes, considered the pioneer of multi-screen theater complexes next to the Beltline Drive-In. 1967, the front shell, intended for retail stores, is converted to a second auditorium, making Studio 28 the first multiplex theater east of the Mississippi River. In 1976, it expands to 6 screens. March 1984 adds 6 screens to become the only 12-screen complex in the United States. The expansion increased eating capacity to more than 4,000. April 1984 adds computerized ticketing system. September 1987, the Beltline Drive-In is closed to make space for another addition. November 1988 expands to 20 screens with eating for more than 6,000, making it the world's largest freestanding theater complex until 1995. Expansion including 8,000 square foot lobby and THX sound system. November 1990, on the day after Thanksgiving, films include Dancing with Wolves, Home Alone draw more than 16,000 moviegoers, a still unbroken attendance record for a single theater. 1993 converts to digital sound. 1996 archives highest annual attendance at 1.7 million. 1998 and 99 makes the conversion to stadium seating in all auditoriums except Theater 1. February 2007 applied for liquor license and announced plans to add a banquet hall to the facility, hoping to boost ticket sales. February 2008, liquor license approved. November 23, 2008, Studio 28 closes its doors, citing a 75% decline in attendance since 1996. December 23, 2013, City of Wyoming condemns the building for a variety of issues, including an unstable roof. March 25th, 2014, exterior demolition of the theater begins.
Last movie tonight before closing its doors for good. 24-hour News 8's Jessica Leffler was there. She joins us now with the very latest. Jess?
Emily, there's a sign on the street that says thank you for 43 years. The final show today was Madagascar 2, as many bid farewell to what they say is the end of an era.
Well, I worked here from 1984 to 88.
The memories of Studio 28 in Wyoming.
The guy I got married to the first time around was, first date was here.
Whether good or bad, there's plenty of them. The posters on the walls touting just some of the classics, the myriad of hits to come through here, including Jaws, Jurassic Park, The Shining, Malcolm X, and more. For many, this is much more than just a building. It's where their story begins.
That's an emotional thing, but that's what the movies are all about. They communicate on an emotional level, and the buildings that are the places where the movies are shown, they become part of the story eventually.
Studio Studio 28 was built in 1965. It expanded to the first 20-screen movie multiplex in the world. At its peak in the late 1990s, Studio 28 drew in more than 1.7 million moviegoers per year. Those numbers were down nearly 75% when the decision was made to close. That dwindling attendance and an outdated building were some of the reasons for the closure. A tough pill to swallow for the folks who've been coming here for years.
I feel choked up because I've been a part of this theater since they were drive-in, and I'm really going to miss it. I've taken my kids. I went when I was younger. We just lived down on 28th Street when I was a little girl.
To me, it feels a little like the band still plays as the Titanic goes down. But we are going to go out with some class, some style, and make it a party.
The line snaked throughout the theater for the last shows as many look to write their final chapter with Studio 28.
It's got to be more than a building. Now, tomorrow, when the place goes dark, it'll start to look like a building. But as long as people remember the people they related to and the movies they related to and the stories they learned, then it'll always be there.
We did speak to the owner about the future of this building. He tells us he has no idea where it's headed, but says he's concerned that there might be a negative impact because of the poor economy on a potential sale. For now, we're live in Wyoming. I'm Jessica Leffler, 24-hour News 8.
So this, what looks like just a plain old slab of cement, was not just a plain old slab of cement about 25 years ago. This was where the sign for Studio 28 stood right here, kitty corners from the Burger King. So right here, I would have literally been walking right through Studio 28. Right here is where the old studio stood. And right there, as you guys can see, that car going, that was one of the original entrances. There was an IHOP there, and now there's that restaurant, but you'd come through there, you would come back this way. There was a wall right there where that was, but then you would run right into Studio 28 right here. And we're gonna see if we can find where the original Beltline Drive-In entrance was, where you would see the marquee for Studio 28, or for the Beltline Drive-In with Bugs Bunny and Goofy. This entrance here did not exist. So I'm going by an aerial view that shows where the original IHOP was, with that building right there. That was one of the entrances, because you go back there, you would run right to Studio 28. So there were three ways to get in. You could see the original water tower there in the background. This would have been all Studio 28. So, and I believe this was one solid spot, because there was a breeze, like a walkway. It's hard to explain, but this entrance was not here. There was three entrances, so that was one. One is right there, was the original, one of the originals. So you go this way. I'm trying to do this because it's getting dark. This is picture Studio 28 being through here. This is still one of the original parking lots for Studio 28. right here. I'm probably not gonna get this exactly right, because I thought that Frankie V's was where the sign was, but no, completely wrong, because Studio 28 came all the way back through here. So at one time this was all the drive-in. Then it became the flea market, because you could see, if you look through the old vintage aerial view of the Studio 28, and you could see the marquee. That's not too far from the background. That's the water tower. I am thinking, because this would have been the corner of 28, would have been through here. I'm thinking right here where I'm standing at, but I'm thinking that it stood right here, because if you look in the aerial view, you could see 28th Street right there. The that wasn't there, but there was a, you could see where Frankie V's would have been, but that's one of the original, that's the original entrance right here. But then you would look up and the drive-in would be behind the marquee. So the marquee with Goofy and Bugs had to have been right here. Behind it was the Beltline Drive-In. That right here was where Jerry's Roadhouse used to stand. Jerry's Roadhouse used to be right here. I'm gonna put a picture up so you guys will see the water tower. But across the street, Kenny Corners from that, right here in front of the drive-in, right here, I could only find one picture, and it's courtesy of the Wyoming, Michigan History Room. But this was where Bounce Land, somewhere in here, is where Bounce Land stood. We had a lot of cool places in the Wyoming, Grand Rapids area at one time, guys, and believe me, the Beltline Drive-In / Studio 28 was the place to be every weekend. And also, over 50 years, Studio 28, the Beltline Drive-In, also put on a flea market every Saturday and Sunday. We would have a flea market, and that lasted decades. It was a tradition for most of Wyoming residents to come to the flea market behind Studio 28 every weekend to buy collectibles, meet up with friends, food, music, everything. It was like a family. You always ran into somebody you knew at the flea market. And where the flea market used to be was right here.
Barton Dieters is in Wyoming with why the institution is coming to an end. Barton?
Monday through Friday, it's an empty parking lot where no one ever parks. But on a sunny summer weekend, the smells of onions and kielbasa and the sights and sounds of thousands of people being served by hundreds of vendors in a 50-year tradition that comes to an end this month. At the site of what used to be the Beltline Drive-In Theater in Studio 28, on sunny summer weekends since 1970, the 28th Street Flea Market has been home to everything you could imagine.
Great food, great weird stuff you can buy. I think I bought this helmet.
The flea market opened in May of 1970 as a way to make use of the drive-in property, and it's still owned by Celebration Cinemas.
It exposed me to a lot of awesome different cultures and is something that makes Wyoming a very special place.
But this weekend, the signs went up announcing the closing on July 28th. Bruce and Marty Johns have been running the flea market for more than 3 decades, spending 12 hours starting at 6 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday.
There'll be inside tears, you know, but it's been a long run.
On a good day, there are more than 300 vendors and as many as 4,000 people paying the 50-cent admission.
They've had some come up with tears in their eyes saying, this is what we've done for years, and it's gone.
The drive-in closed in 1988, and Studio 28 closed 20 years later. Celebration Cinema's Emily Locke says the flea market has generated just enough money to pay the taxes on the vacant property, but the time has come for development to begin on the 13-acre parcel. Everything has not been finalized, but city plans call for mixed use at that site, including affordable housing and apartments.
I'd like to keep it going for 50 more years, but progress.
The Johns say there has been a change and that the internet has taken a toll on some of the higher-end items that used to be sold there. Still, they say this year has seen near record numbers of people coming out for the few weekends without rain.
It was fun.
We've been there so long that most of them are like family.
7 a.m. Saturday morning will be the first of, weather permitting, 4 more weekends that you can come to the 28th Street Flea Market. In Wyoming, Barton Dieters, 24-hour News 8.
This is where the flea market was, behind Studio 28. And this is the final scene that I remember of Studio 28. Piece of me passed away along with Studio 28, along with so many other people. This was the day they tore Studio 28 down.
Well, it's coming down. Demolition underway right now on the old Studio 28 building, once the largest movie theater in the world. It's a Wyoming landmark that holds so many memories for so many people. And 24-hour News 8's Mark Thompson was there as the very first brick came crumbling to the ground. He's live in studio control. Mark, kind of sad to see it go, really.
Yeah, it is, Sue. And as you mentioned, from first dates to birthday parties, Studio 28 held fond memories for so many people. But just after 8 o'clock this morning, the demolition crew, they hauled out the heavy machinery and they went to work. They started with the large metal awning and then bashed in the brick facade. Studio 28 opened in the mid-60s. It spearheaded future success for John Lokes and his chain of Celebration Cinemas. It was once the largest multiplex theater in the world, but over the years, the structure became a bit outdated and attendance fell off. The 28th Street landmark closed in November of 2008. Now, we caught up with Craig Engstrom. He's worked for Celebration Cinema for 40-plus years, and like so many, he has fond memories of Studio 28.
When it was a single screen, I think in '65, and then added on around '68, and then, you know, the continual added on. It was the largest in the world at one time with 20 screens, and it's been a big part of my life, but a lot of people in this area are going to miss it.
The city of Wyoming has not said what will be done with the 20-acre plot along 28th Street, but by tearing it down, they hope to deter vandals and inspire new businesses to move in. Live in studio control, Mark Thompson.
I was standing right here. They had this all fenced off, cars lined up right in this parking lot. There was cars lined up through here. They were watching Studio 28 being torn down, and I actually got to talk to a few people and a couple first dates things here. People were crying. It was a sad day in Wyoming history when Studio 28 got torn down. I have a lot of memories here. I still have a couple of the bricks from the original theater.